What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today we are looking at YaLLa Compass 2020. I will show the lineup I have for the playoffs of I Am Dallas. It's a huge disaster. I think it's pretty much gonna ruin my chances in the leaderboard. FaZe losing to G2, like getting crushed by G2. Spirit getting crushed by Vitality. And then 9Z lost, which is like fine, like I don't mind this, but I don't even know. Like honestly, it's so horrible, like how Spirit and FaZe played in those two games, and I don't want to think about it any more than that. I think we just close this tab. We go forward to YaLLa Compass and just try and maybe get a nice finish to this season, even if it's gonna probably not be a top 10. It's a weird format for YaLLa Compass. I believe it's gonna be the whole event in one fantasy, where it's best of one round robin groups. So everyone plays against each other once for one map, and it's all best of ones. That means there's a lot of chances to use your boosters. I have to actually think about what I... Okay, so how do you think about boosters then? You're definitely not gonna use all of yours in the best of one stage. You have to save some of them for the playoffs, but then that might also be a problem in terms of you don't know how far they're gonna go in the playoffs. It's a weird one. Also, the groups, there's no real huge favorites. I would say Astralis is favored here. Heroic and the Mongols probably favored to go through this group. Then Group B, I guess Complexity and Eternal Fire are like the number 1 and 2 favorites of the group. I think Furia, Bet Boom, Fnatic, Big. One of those is gonna make it through. I would have to guess Fnatic, maybe. Maybe Big could go through. I don't know. It's weird groups where I think there's a lot of potential for upsets. Of course, there's a large amount of games, so that's gonna also heighten the chance of some upsets at least. But I don't know. I think Astralis probably makes too much sense in terms of like going for them and having a pretty high chance of having having just 5 wins. I think they have the highest chance of any team here to go 5 wins. So I think we're just doubling up on them. And I think at these prices, it's Bro has to be in because of the high headshot percentage. And I would probably gravitate towards Stair as the second guy. He's also very, very capable as a player, and the other guys are just so expensive. I think this is gonna be the core for a lot of people as a team. And then a lot of people are going Device as well, depending on who you want to go for apart from the Astralis guys. Major as the most picked player, this makes sense as well. If you look at this group B, it's kind of weird, but I think Major is one of those players who definitely is a capable fragger, and they are also very capable as a team. In terms of pricing, I think it's like some of the pricings are a bit too fair, like there's, or like just a bit too high, I guess, in that I wouldn't really want to gamble on a lot of these players. Heroic pricings look a bit off, like I don't know if I trust them enough. It's a pretty hard group for them in terms of like Astralis matchup and the Mongols matchup. ENCE matchup could go either way, depending on how good this new ENCE is doing. I think Podi has started as a Finn, of course. I'm interested in how Podi's gonna do in this group. And so far, after kind of disastrous first map, at least his individual level has been better in the next 2 games. But like, I would love to go for like gambly big options, for example, like Crimbo and JDC, who have been fragging like crazy, but they're also pretty expensive. I think Iceberg is an interesting option as a budget option. Like 180k is a very fair price for someone who I expect will actually outfrag a lot of the other people in this kind of price point. Like I would expect him to outfrag Glaive, even if he doesn't like if his team doesn't do that well. Let's take a look at what I can do with Iceberg. I think the thing is, I don't want to go with complexity for this. They're playing in Abu Dhabi. Maybe it is the complexity angle, to be honest. It's either complexity or Eternal Fire in this other group for sure. I just don't see any sense in going for other teams here. They're all too inconsistent. We've seen good things from the Mongols, at least in their home tournament, but I don't know. I think they also probably put a lot of their effort into that event specifically because it's on their home turf. I think Astralis and then Complexity or Eternal Fire is the angle I would go for. If you look at like Complexity lately, also there's been some rumors about like Halzerk's contract situation, but I think the rumors have mostly been like that Halzerk, like the recent rumors have been that Halzerk would just stay at call, which is interesting. I think I'm not at all mad at that, actually. I'm pretty happy to hear that in a way, because I think they need some stability. Like, I think it's interesting. I worded that poorly, but I think it's interesting to give a bit longer to players than just kicking an offer and going for what at least on paper seems like a firepower upgrade. But I think it's interesting as an option to also just keep a player and see if you can sort it out. And I think a lot of teams kind of jump to making some changes too early. I'm not so convinced in complexity though. I think it's gonna be a Zantares lineup. Then we can actually even upgrade if it's Zantares Major. I do like the idea of having a Zantares who can absolutely crush a lot of these teams, I think. I also don't mind going for like a Wycadia. Wait, can you go Wycadia Woxic and... Yeah, you could go Wycadia Woxic, and I do like Wycadia as well. It would be more balanced than Major Zantares, but it's actually cheaper to go Major Zantares, and I think that might be better depending on what options we have. There's nothing really good in this price point though. Can you upgrade your stair? I don't think this is possible though. Is there a 177k player? No. Like, that is not possible either. We could, I guess, go Road Chubby Woxic Wycadia. No. Oh right, it was more expensive, not less expensive, right? I'm not a Calyx fan really, but his headshot percentage is pretty damn nice. But I think in these slightly higher tier play games, he's often the guy who's gonna frag a little less. I would say Woxic is like inconsistent, same as with Wycadia. I think with Zantares and Major, I'm pretty happy with their general level of output a lot of the time. I mean, Kixan is the kind of player, this is like the first lineup I made. Just that Kixan's individual, like, fragging level has not been too great. How good was it during this period, I guess, is a question. They lost to Mouse. They beat MIBR. I guess these teams are more generally in the MIBR level of fragging. I mean, beating Navi like this is, of course, always good. Mady might just be this. I think there's just no great options in that price point apart from him. Like Iceberg, I could see myself gambling for if it made more sense monetarily. I think then just is gonna be able to get a lot of, like, okay, I thought about this earlier but kind of forgot to mention it. In this kind of format, it's even more important to pick teams that are gonna win as many games as possible. I think that's like actually crucial, because you're gonna get 6 points for each win and avoid -3 points for a loss. You're gonna get a 10-point swing in every win. Like if you pick Iceberg and Sashi goes 0-5, which is not impossible at all, that's kind of like negative 15 points. And in comparison to picking like a player from a team that went 5-0, it would be minus 45 points just from the actual winning and losing points. I think in this event, it's even more important than in some tournaments to pick players from teams that are going to win. And I think in that case, Ixan probably makes the most sense. I would like to have like a JT maybe instead of him if I could. Actually, Floppy is less expensive than JT nowadays. That's kind of crazy. But I think I'm pretty happy with this team. We have some pretty great options as well in terms of roles. So Bro is definitely a supportive element, but I think his headshot percentage is even better. Stair is probably going to be support 42-42 or IGL, one or the other. I think it's support for now. Actually, we'll check what is Kixan's best role. If it's support, actually eco-friendly is good on him. But is it better on... So, yeah, some major versus Kixan. Yes, one is going to be IGL, one's going to be support, one's going to be eco-fragger. Or eco-friendly. Yes, major doesn't really have other great roles apart from eco-friendly and support and IGL. All of them have those as their best roles. I think Stair has to be IGL then. And we just expect them to... I think they also have the highest chance of winning their games. So then it's eco-friendly and support on Kixan and major. Just a matter of... I think this is just better then, right? Yeah, it's just better to do it like this then. And then Xantares is gonna have one of these big boy roles. Defender's really good for him. Attacker's even better. Attacker, Entry Fragger, and Stat Hunter all have very similar numbers. I think I'll go Attacker. I think it's kind of the safest in a way. Okay. Or maybe Entry Fragger is actually a bit safer. Yeah, let's go with that. I don't know. It's very close between those roles. And then boosters, as I said, best of ones. I think starting out against Astralis, I won't even play boosters here. Because we get like, what, 18 boosters. And just in this group stage, there's gonna be 5, 10, there's like 25 games in the group stage for each, in total for all of your players, no matter what. And then in the playoffs, I think I would only save, what, 5 boosters, and then towards the end of the group stage, if it seems like your teams are not gonna make it through to the playoffs, you're supposed to, in that case, like use your boosters. I should use some of the boosters, like KST against like, I can actually pre-assign some boosters. That is kind of nice. I think the best KST player is always gonna have KST against the weakest team here. I would say, boy, what is the weakest team here? I think it might be Furia. Furia might be the weakest team here. Might also be... I'll go with Pet Boom. It's a bit questionable. What else? So we have Leader, Stair. We should use that against the weakest team here. I think this grudge match against Sashi, I think they should be able to handle. Or like Denmark v Denmark. Then some of the worst boosters. I should use Major's Flash booster against some team, a random team like, I don't know, Bet Boom. Grenade for Major as well. Let's go with Furia. We don't have anything against Furia yet. I'm trying to use some of these worst rolls or boosters. At least here. Their knife versus the heroic actually. I'll use this until I have like 5 left, I suppose. What kill we can use? Antares against, not against complexity, let's say against big. Here. Quad against big. Okay. Harry. Antares. I would rather use it against a different team, I think, like a Bet Boom. Farmer's gonna be... Actually, we might go for Kixon instead, because he's actually on the eco-friendly, and we need to use some boosters on Kixon as well. Or we don't actually need to use boosters on everyone here, but... Kixon versus... I don't know. Go the Mongols. Cannon fodder. There versus... What is a good team here? Heroic. Okay, let's go for this here and then throw the knife against a different team like Ents maybe. Some more to be used. This is definitely a bro kind of booster. Heroic, they have high headshot players. I don't think they have any really high headshot players actually, so that makes sense there. Avenger, Shore on Stair versus Nip. We need to use a couple more. Date, bro. I'd actually rather save that for later. Assist is one that we want to use against, let's say, complexity. And I'll use one more. Clutch is one of these bad ones against the Mongols. Okay. And towards the end of the group stage, I have to take a look at how well my team is doing. I can actually then assign extra boosters out of the ones I still have. If it seems like, for example, Heroic don't make it through, I should use one of these before. I think it's more important to have all your boosters used than it is to gamble on the fact that your team is gonna win in the playoffs. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this team in general. I think Zantares should be pretty safe in terms of an avenue towards points. I think the double Astralis guys are still cheap enough that it makes sense, especially in this kind of format where I have to go for teams that I hope are gonna win as many games as possible, and then Kixon mostly there for the role, for the fact that he's on Heroic, who I think is gonna still win most of their games, even if they lose to Astralis probably. But yeah, if you enjoy this kind of content, please remember to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.